this is Kevin Wilson. You're listening to Master of One podcast. You can find me at 8matesgirl on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and at 8matesgirl.com.
Welcome to this Sandbox episode of the Master of One podcast, part 2 for this week. This week we talked to concept and game artist for Red Hook Games, Trudi Castle. I'm Andrew, your Master of Art and Design.
I'm Patrick, your Master of Television and Film.
And I'm Luke, your Master of Toys and Games.
So don your sword and journey gear, and let's start the adventure.
Why is it so dark?
For this Sandbox episode, we're excited to talk to somebody who we talked about on the show not too long ago. She's an artist who, honestly, I think everybody has heard of you, and they've seen your work, and they love your work, because when we talked about it on the show, I got so much feedback that I was talking about you, and they were excited. So without any further ado, she works on Darkest Dungeon with Red Hook Games. She is a big coffee lover, concept and game artist, Trudi Castle. Welcome, Trudi, to the show.
Hi, thank you very much.
Good to have you.
Hey,
that was 100. Yeah, that is 100% true. Like we talk about stuff all the time. We're like, how many episodes are we in at this point? Well into the 200s, and we've had so many different topics that we bring. You know, and you've listened to a couple shows, so you know how this works. But when I talked about you, I have never gotten the kind of feedback that I got when I talked about you, because they're like, oh my gosh, I love her work so much. And so we are so thrilled that you took some time to chat with us. So Trudi, tell everybody who you are. Give us the quick Wikipedia page about yourself.
Okay, hi. Well, I'm Trudi Castle. I'm a concept artist for video games. I started actually as QA, worked my way up. I did go to university, and I've just been working in video games for about 10 years now. Yeah.
So when we first started talking to you, you said we like to make sure that we're giving you the title that you would call yourself. And we said, what do you want to be called? Graphic artist, illustrator, whatever. And you said a phrase that stuck with me, and it's not like it stuck with me forever, but for the last 5 minutes, I've been kind of mulling over this idea that you said that you're honored to even be called an artist. So I want to know what that means, because that sounds very intriguing to me. Let's just start right off the deep end right here and find out what that means.
Well, like when you go to university, I actually studied illustration at university, but you're definitely told a lot, at least at my school, that a very small percentage of you will actually become like artists. Paid artists.
Okay,
so even now, even though it's like over 10 years, there's still that little voice in the back of my head, like, I'm an artist, so whenever that's like officially put somewhere as a title, I'm like, oh my God, I've made it. So it feels like I did it.
Is the idea that like very few people will make actual money doing it? Is that like the bigger thing, making a living? So what is the... I was going to say, I know a lot of totally broke artists, like everywhere. So what is the difference in... yeah, exactly. So what is the difference in I think, that culture, that idea? I mean, we were talking to Luke Priest just recently on the show, and he was saying that... the gallery scene is a lot different where he is than it is over here in America, and maybe a lot of the community around it is a lot different. So kind of moving in the world, how has that changed for you?
I think at university, a lot of people were wanting to be like fine artists, so that's definitely very different to like a kind of paid gig of like, a day. It's like art now. I don't want it to sound as mundane as like, it's just a day job, but it's like, it's regular paid work. Whereas gallery work can be very different. Like you don't know when it's going to come, how long it will last for. It just all depends. But this is, I don't want to say it's at all like this is just a job, but it's definitely very different to that kind of artist. I feel like there's artist with a capital A, and then there's normal artist as well. So, and that's not to put down normal artists, which is what I think I am. But I feel like if you've got a gallery and everything, that becomes like a big artist. At least that's how my university would have felt, for sure.
So it in some ways legitimizes you as an artist. It frees you up to be able to give yourself that title. Yeah. Because when you said that, the way that I read it was a bit of like you felt like you were what we call the imposter syndrome. Like
still got that. Oh my God. Yeah.
That's a given.
And that's crazy to me.
She just gets a paycheck too.
Yeah. Which is crazy to me because your work is so good and it's so widely appreciated. So one of the things, I should say right off the bat here, this week you celebrated a pretty big milestone. You hit 50,000 followers on Instagram, and that's pretty awesome. Incredible. So congratulations for getting there.
No idea
I'm
how.
Almost. I do. I have a pretty good idea. I'm looking forward to hitting 50 followers, and as soon as I do, I'm going to go on a nice steak dinner. But
pat yourself on the back.
But does that number fuel any of the, or does it? Should I say, does it extinguish any of the fire that would be perpetuated of this idea of being an imposter? Like when you hit every additional 1,000, does it feel like a little bit more legitimate to you? Even if your like university professors wouldn't necessarily use that as a benchmark, but does that personally motivate you?
I think, I mean, a tiny bit, but that voice is always there, and it now becomes more like, now even more people are going to find out what a fake you are. And it's not, I don't mean fake in that way, but it's just like, there's just always going to be that voice there. But I also kind of like having that voice there because then it pushes me on, like, gotta keep improving before everyone finds out that I'm not so good. It's definitely it's not crazy healthy to have that voice all the time, but, I also think it helps in some weird way. Like, I would hate to somehow become full of myself, which is, I know 100% never, ever going to happen. Because I swear, like, I'll go onto Tumblr or I'll go onto, Instagram, anywhere, and I'll just have a little look through and I'll just instantly see, like, some amazing new artist. And I'm like, oh my gosh, so amazing. Like, and I feel like you can easily find brand new artists absolutely amazing. But I find that drives me as well. It's not a jealousy thing. It's like encouraging as well. Like, oh, that's a cool idea. That's a cool new style. And
sure,
just, go from there.
So talk a little bit about style, because I look at your style and I look at Instagram and then I look at your website and there's kind of a range. It all feels like you can see your character style and some of similarities, but your website is a little bit more of maybe finished pieces, and there's some like scene and landscape, and then your Instagram is very much like just more character design and I don't know if sketchy is the right word, but that's what I say because I am I don't know how to speak artist.
Sketchy.
But like talk a little bit about your style and kind of how you got to where it is.
I don't know. Like I go through different styles over the years. So for a while, like about 2 years ago, I was doing a lot of like landscape images. And I noticed, I think a lot of it is how much free time I have. So when I have a lot more free time, I'll do a lot more like fully colored pieces. Like I'll use a lasso tool, do nice big environments. And basically a lot of the past year has been a lot sketchier, a lot more black and white or just like two-tone.
Right.
And that's normally like, those are like, everything is always a warm-up or like just like easing down after work. That's cool. What a lot of those are. But the more like environment style pictures have always been like, I've got lots of time. I'm just going to sit and do this all evening. But then I've been playing a lot of Zelda the past few months. So, yeah. I'm like, well, I always feel the need to still draw something of my own every day. So that's when it will become like the black and white quick sketchy picture.
Have you beat the game yet? Have you beat Zelda?
No, I've got 2 more Divine Beasts to go, and I'm like just like holding off. Like I really don't want to do them because I love it so much. It's so good.
Yeah, I get that. So one of the things. So my son and I play that game, and one of the things that we've been doing this past, I don't know, you've been doing these now for like the last several weeks. kind of walking through one of his different outfits or whatever. Every day you post a new one. I'll pull him. His name is Cooper. I'll pull Cooper over and we'll look at it and we'll talk about it. So it's been good for us to carry that on. But I want to say specifically before we move on into some of the other things that you do. And I want to know about the coffee crew stuff.
Yep.
Are these your own? Like, is this your own IP, and you've developed this world for them? Like, what's the talk to us about this project and about what this is all about.
So this all started a few years ago with one of Jake Parker's Inktober series.
Gotcha.
And each day, it was the first Inktober I did. And I was like, just each day it was random. So at the time I was playing Shadow of Mordor. So like one day was like, yeah, it's just orc faces. And another day was one of the days I did a cat like attacking a donut. And then I was like, oh, that's kind of fun. And it was like a lot easier to just keep a running theme. So I was like, I'm going to just keep drawing this cat and keep having coffee. And because it's always in October, everything is like pumpkin and dessert based at that time. It's amazing. And, I was just like, I'll just keep doing this. And then after Inktober was over, I just felt like I just want to keep drawing this character. And then I started like just adding in like, oh, this is Marble's friend, like, you know, just adding in lots of little characters. And then before I knew it, that was the only thing I was drawing in my free time. So it's just kind of went from there. They're just all my own little characters. And so when I get someone actually draw like their own little fan art of one of the characters, I'm always like incredibly surprised and humbled that someone took time to draw one of these little characters. Yeah, it's really nice.
They're so fun. They're so and your style, like Luke was alluding to earlier, it feels not. Yeah, I mean, it feels very organic in the sense that it's very textured and very. It almost looks hand painted, but you know it's digitally painted. And they're always so fun, especially the living inside of this world. I know nothing about the world other than seeing these little snippets on your Instagram, and man, I think you've done a good job of making a compelling world of this. Thanks, Jake Parker. We've asked lots of questions to lots of artists, and a lot of times it comes out with, well, I started back in Inktober, and then some major project has come out of that. And so thanks, Jake, for all that jazz.
So you've mentioned 2 games now. So you mentioned Zelda, you mentioned Shadow of Mordor. I get the idea that you are a gamer. Is that how you got into the video game industry? or did you become a gamer from being in the industry?
No, I've been playing games like, I think since about age 4 or 5. My dad had, I don't know which Atari it was, but he had an Atari and he was playing Space Invaders. And I remember I was really scared of it at first, like just that sound of them moving was terrifying. But I got into it through there. Then it was onto like a Spectrum. I don't even know. Was that in North America? I don't actually know. ZX Spectrum.
No, it wasn't.
It was interesting. And then I was a really big Sega, but my sister and I were really into Sega growing up. Our friend had a Nintendo. Yeah. So we'd play Zelda at his, and we had Master System and then Mega Drive Genesis and just all the way up. And I've just always played video games. Awesome. Yeah, love them.
So you started drawing and and that was your way into that industry?
I remember as a kid, I was like, I want to be the artist to draw Sonic and Tails.
Yeah. So how did you pursue it? How did you get from university to the game industry?
So that's, I mentioned earlier, I did QA for a while. So the moment I graduated, like about 2 weeks later, it was actually through my sister talking to someone at EA. They said, well, we don't have any art jobs going right now, but we do have a quality assurance QA position, and it was on Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire on every single system at the time.
Oh, wow.
So we got like PC, Game Boy Advance, PlayStation 2, I think it was. Yeah, it was across everything. We did that for a while, and one of the best games I've ever tested was We Love Katamari, which was such a good game, and it was never boring to test. That was an amazing game.
Can I ask you what a bit of the process is? I mean, I'm in something way less complex. I'm in like web development, so I know like QA testing on that side. But what does QA on the game side look like?
It can be simply playing the game from beginning to end, making sure levels load. But then it can also be like, it used to be like this on the older consoles, but like if you pull out the controller, does the game crash? Like simple things like that. Or it can be like, to finish the level, you have to do these things. But if you do it in a different order, does it still work? I actually really enjoyed testing a lot. I think it's... I was also very good at breaking games a lot, and sadly I still do it a lot and unintentionally. So I even like crashed Zelda. Like I was messing about during one of the cutscenes, and suddenly the character didn't load anymore, and we were stuck. I had to like reset the system.
I feel like developers do not like you. Like, at all. No, I had to stop playing Firewatch. Did you play Firewatch by any chance?
Yes.
I made it to... forget spoilers. This game's been out way too long, so nobody gets this. But I made it to... It's like the very end where he's like packing up in the tower. He has to like get his typewriter and he's going to leave. Yeah. It's like, I think it's in like the last 10 minutes of the game, and his typewriter got stuck in the floorboard, and I could never pick up the typewriter, and the game was just frozen, and I never finished it. That was it.
Did you have
on principle, Patrick would not go back and reload.
There was no way I was playing that game. I had already played it. We were done. You did mention Sonic. Can we please agree real quick that Casino Nights is the worst Sonic level of all time? Is that a possibility?
It's definitely not my favorite at all.
And the music was just brutal.
Yeah.
Patrick talks about this every episode. He cannot. You're finally someone who's come on in over 200 episodes, and
I can
finally someone to agree with
it. So how does that affect in that case? Because this is your job. I mean, you hear a lot about the grass is greener, like that idea. Does that hinder your love for video games at all? The fact that it is literally your day job?
No, do you know what? Before starting, that was my fear. But actually, I find I love them even more now. Like knowing what goes on behind the scenes, like especially now on the art sides, like starting a game from beginning and seeing it to the end is a really fun process. Because a game can start off with so many huge, grand ideas, and in the end, like stuff has to get cut or along the way, like a better idea comes along. Art styles can change as well. And now I love it even more now. Like I will hopefully be doing this till the day I die. Or maybe I won't die, so I'll just keep doing it forever.
There you go.
I'm sure that's fine.
I like your optimism. Honestly, I think that's the key. Just staying positive is really what's going to drive you there.
I read something the other day. I'm sure it changes, but they did say like the more coffee you drink, the longer you live. So I was like, okay, I better drink more coffee.
Yeah.
That is sound logic for sure.
I like it. I'll buy into that.
So before we started, we were talking about just a couple of things, various things, and you mentioned this idea that one of the areas that you kind of are a proponent of is that people not stay within one sphere of influence. If they are a game designer or a graphic designer or an illustrator or an artist or anything, musician, anything that requires you to use any part of your creative mind, which is practically any position in the world, right? That you only focus on that one. Like if you're a graphic artist, that you only look at other graphic artists for inspiration or for whatever, or for influence. And you are a big proponent of not being that, of diversification. Talk to us a little bit about that and what drives that that fuel for you.
Well, like my big worry of like concentrating in one area is that you kind of end up seeing the same ideas over and over. So like today I was saying that I went for a bike ride and my poor friend, the whole time we're cycling, we got to stop. I need to take a photo of this rock, it's like so nice to go out and you just get like I saw so many people on tandem bikes today, but I saw so many people on tandem bikes, but there was only one person on it. And so immediately I'm thinking did they lose that person? Is there a ghost on the bike? And even just little things like that, you just start getting weird little ideas. And I already want to draw a tandem bike with ghosts on it or something. So I'd say I think it's really helpful to get outside of, your industry and just be open to ideas from everywhere. And that can be hobbies, like even just hanging out with friends, just talking, like just to solely concentrate on video games or something. I'm just worried of rehashing the same ideas, because that's always my thing. Like, oh yeah, I saw that in so-and-so. And you're like, I played that. Yeah, it's probably that, isn't it? So it's...
I want to know, so that for you, what is that? And like, what is maybe specifically an idea that has come not from other video game or concept design, but from something that you saw on a bike ride or something like that? What's a real world practical use of that?
So a lot of my, well, I did a load of environment pictures for the coffee crew, and a big load of those is I have a motorbike, and I would ride out to these big lakes in BC. And a lot of those images are just based on environments I saw out there. And then from that sparks another idea of like, oh, that rock is really cool. How about I make that rock look more like a donut or something silly? I think, yeah, just stuff like that. Like, I'm not telling everyone to go ride a motorbike, but, ideas can come from places you might not expect. And also going to bakeries a lot as well helps.
Nice.
Well, yeah, I imagine.
I'm going to be honest. I've been trying that for a while.
Coffee and bakeries. I got it. I'm in.
Something about your style, I like it.
If nothing else, write like a dieting book, like the artist diet, and so far it's coffee and bakeries.
There's lots of sugar,
and you'll live forever apparently.
Yeah,
right. So speaking of finding new places, you are not. So you currently live in Vancouver, is that right?
Yeah.
So in with our Canadian friends in the north, but you are not from there. Your your accent sounds slightly different. So talk to us about that jump and what it looked like to cross the pond over into the friendliest part of the world.
It is very friendly here. So I grew up for 24 years in London, which was amazing and everything, so many art galleries and everything. But to get my first proper art job, I had to move to Germany, to Crytek, made games like Far Cry, Crysis.
Yeah.
Because they were doing an internship there, and moved there and just was there for a few years. So I've definitely found, like, in this industry, it's helped a lot to move around. Like, you have to be willing, I think, to move around. At least at the time. I think it's changed. Like, back then, London didn't really have any mobile game studios. It was very much just the big core companies. And then a few years ago, moved here to Vancouver, and it was definitely very inspirational here compared to where I'd lived before. So it's been a lot of fun moving around. I do, when I went home actually to London, someone there in one of the shops was like, "Oh, where are you from in Australia?" And I was just like, I love the Australian accent, but I was like, no, I'm from here. I'm from Edmonton. And they're like, "No, you're not." I was like, "Oh, no."
Really? So you've somehow formed this amalgamation of an accent that has picked up all these different places. So I want to know the difference then. You say that each place kind of has its own kind of obviously unique culture, but you're working all in the same industry. How does that change from country to country, or from company to company? What is that culture shift that you found in each of these different places, like good and bad?
Well, like in Germany, so I was in Germany, but the company I was at spoke English inside the studio. So you have people from all over the world there, but all speaking English. So it was a really fun mix, like meeting people, like New Zealanders, Australians, but also people from Eastern Europe, people from America. I'd never met people from America before, so that was fun. And then, like, it's definitely, like, in Canada, it's been a lot more mainly Canadians. It's a lot. I honestly thought living in British Columbia, I would meet more British people, but it really is just a name. But it's just fun. It's nice. You have lots of different ideas and ideals from all these different people from different countries as well. So, it's kind of, I feel like, I'm not saying I was closed-minded in London, but I'm definitely way more open to a lot of different things now, including food as well. Like
pastries.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Specifically pastries.
yeah,
Pastries and
specifically,
different kinds of coffee.
You just had your first cannoli, correct?
Yeah, oh my God, it was so good as well. I can't believe it's taken this long.
They're not bad.
Yeah, I know.
I wish
like,
everyone could see your face, Patrick. Your face. You're
honestly,
so excited at the thought of a cannoli.
I'm sitting here thinking, who is going to be open when we finish this interview so I can go get a cannoli, because that feels very necessary right now. It's like cannoli and baklava. Those are the two things that if my wife sees, she's like, it doesn't matter. She has to have them right now. Like, that's just non-negotiable. So do you ever take a break from like dreaming and thinking, and because you talked about like y'all go on a bike ride and then I'm thinking about like all these cool whatever. Can you turn your mind off? Is that like a possibility?
That's what I try to do playing video games, but then when I'm playing video games, I'm like, oh, I really love what Link's wearing
QA
right now.
testing the whole time.
Yeah, and so like I've recently been doing all of Link's clothings from anytime I get a new bit of armor or anything, like, oh, that looks lovely, I'm gonna have to draw this at some point. And I just got his recent, like the Rito bird people. It was like, oh, but their one has feathers on it, like I have to draw this now. So I find it really hard actually to just like turn off from thinking about artwork all the time. I think I do worry sometimes that there's going to be like some crazy burnout, but I also don't think it's ever going to happen, just because I feel inspired by so much stuff all the time. Like, I don't know how it would happen. Yeah.
So do you have like any type of I guess you just said video games is the way that you do try to recharge, even though that feeds straight back into more. So outside of art, do you have any other like very strong passions, or at this point is basically everything revolving around this core of video games?
Kinda. I like to read. I like to go for long walks. I like to do yoga as well. I find that's actually a really good one for switching your brain off. Like once you get into the swing of it, just doing these poses. I know, like I don't want that. I like to do yoga on Sundays. You know, just I don't know. Like, I like to go running a lot. Actually, I find I put on a podcast. Although the podcast is usually game related, but I find that really helps, because there's a point where I'm just like, I can't even think of anything. I've got to survive this run. You know.
But all of it does. Oh, I'm the same way. It's this idea of like, because running is very close to like dying for me. I can't possibly think about anything else other than survival at that moment, and so it is very good for cleaning out the mind. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that is a really important thing, and it sounds like you're balancing that in a very healthy way. But this idea that it's so easy to build these creative circles, but they just feed into each other, and so because of that, you're kind of immune to the world outside of your bubble. So I think what you're saying is I mean, it makes sense to me that it can serve as being a break. It can serve as being a release. It can take you out of that bubble that you could very easily fall into. But at the same time, it can be the thing that gives you fresh perspective and allows your creativity to, I guess, bolster. So I think that's awesome. With that being said, we're going to move into our final questions. We're going to ask you just a couple more. Andrew, why don't you kick them off for us?
Yeah. So one of our patrons, one of our good friends of the show, his name is Doc. He had a question, and it actually aligns pretty closely with what I've wondered. And you've got these two things that we kind of see. We've mentioned your style. We've talked about it a little bit. It's very playful. It's very fun. But you've got these two different juxtapositions that you use right now. There's this like angular look, specifically the stuff that you did with Minecraft, and it's very much blocky, but you're not doing it in a 3D program, like you're illustrating it, and you actually just posted a process video like yesterday or the day before, and I was like blown away by how you managed to get those angles just freehand, which is crazy to me. But But he's asking about that same thing, the angularity in that digital work versus like the more of the free flowing deal. And he said, how do those differences emerge? And is that a game design style solution, or is it a decision made more by the tools that you're using?
It's definitely the tools for sure. So the Angular style came about from working on the Long Dark game that also just came out, but I was working on it a few years ago, and we wanted to keep it like very stylistic at the time. And I just found using the lasso tool just got the look without it being free, like a 3D program. It got the look through in 2D art, and then I just started using it more for some free time work, and it came about from there. But it can also take a while, a little bit longer. Whereas, so anything that's just kind of like that rough brush tool, it kind of looks like a pencil tool, I guess. Like that one that's like almost can do it like blindfolded, just like quickly sketch it down. Whereas, anything with the lasso tool takes longer, I'd say. So it just all depends the time and the subject matter, I'd say.
It's incredible to me how you accomplish that look, because you start with all like the base shapes and then you add in all the angularity to it. I'm like, how does she know where that's supposed to go? And if you've been doing it long enough, I guess it makes sense to you. But I look at that and go, holy cow, that would take me days. And it's like I would do it totally backwards and it would probably not look half as good. So anyway, so that's mine.
So from the design perspective, are there any limitations in designing for game world? So either through technology, like what a developer can accomplish, or through whatever it is. What are the main, I guess, limitations you have to be aware of when designing for a game? It's often like for style, I would say you've got to really consider who the target audience is. So like for Darkest Dungeon, as much as I love drawing donuts and cute things, like I could not do any of that in there. There's definitely been some behind the scenes joke characters. There's a lot of rough, like silly things.
I would imagine,
in there. But it's definitely it's not a limitation, but just being really aware of your audience can. So I find it very easy to just go cute for stuff. So a limitation can be when someone tells me it has to be serious. I'm like, okay, I can do this, and then somehow they'll always be like to the side, there'll be like some stubby or silly version of that serious character there always. That's probably like the biggest limitation I find. Yeah.
Cool. So my final will be a two-part because that's what I like to do. I want to ask, what was a game from as far back as from when you started playing games up to now that the style was the art style or the game design style was something that you thought, man, I wish I was part of that. I wish I would have been part of that development phase or that concept. And then I'll ask my second one.
So I don't know how much this will upset people, but like one of my absolute favorite games of all time is Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people are like, but what about 8 or 9? But 7 was the first one that Europe got, which is why it had such a big influence on me. I played through that game fully and got Gold Chocobo 5 times in a row.
Nice.
So I obviously had a lot of time back then. I loved like the artwork. I loved all the character designs in that game. Like they were pretty simple compared to how they look now, but I loved that. I think that really works, Yeah. I loved the music. I just loved everything in it. I'm hopeful for the remake that they're doing. Yeah. I'm super excited, but I don't want to get too excited. I've got to be like, I'm sure it'll be all right.
Well, there's something so perfect about 7. Like, I'm with you. Like, 8 is great, 11, like, whatever. Everybody has their favorite Final Fantasy. I love tactics, but, like, 7 is one. It's almost a perfect game to me. So I'm there with you. So my second question is, what are you looking forward to for a game? Like, what's your gamer's game that you're like, I can't wait to play this when it comes out?
Oh, gosh. I'm really looking forward to BioWare's new game, Anthem.
Yeah.
It looks really cool. So any game that has flying in it, I'm immediately like, yeah, go on. And it had them wearing like cool jetpacks, and they're just flying through really cool worlds. And I was like, oh, and it's multiplayer. Yep. So no, I'm super excited for that as well. And Destiny 2. Like I loved the first one a lot. I do like co-op games a lot. I also really like hard sci-fi games a lot as well. So yeah,
Anthem looks incredible.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
I would love to see someone do the sequel to Katamari, Calamari. And if you could just make this seems right up your alley.
This does seem up your alley.
That just rolls around and picks up pastries and things like that.
Because his body is sticky from the ink.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it totally works.
Honestly, that game produces itself. I bet it's going to need a whole team of people.
Literally and figuratively.
and to fight for the licensing of trying to rip off Katamari. But I think you could do it. So if you want to make Calamari the game, or at least some artwork, then I'm giving it to
problem.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
He's bequeathing that to you. Congratulations. He doesn't do that often. So tell everybody where they can find you, where they can support what you're doing, and see all the fun stuff.
So a long time ago, I didn't think that I would ever get popular in any way. So I named every single social media that I'm on a different name.
Nice.
Perfect.
So it's too late now. So my website is it's just trudiart.com.
With an I, not a Y.
Oh yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's so important. So my Twitter is just Trudi Castle. My Instagram is, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting it. It's Lady T, but I can't remember if it's an underscore T or I think it's Lady underscore T. And then people are always messaging me like, but you never mention tea. You only ever mention coffee. And it's because like my name is Trudy and I used to go as the name Lady T with just the initial, but that was taken. So I was like, I guess I'll just be, I don't know, Lady T. It's like the drink. And then Lady Truds on Tumblr. I really wish I'd thought about this a long time ago.
Can I be honest? Can I just do like just an honesty moment here with you?
Yeah.
When I first was looking at your stuff, I thought that it was Lady Turds.
I get that all the time. So just so you know, back home my friends call me Turdy. So you can see how that works.
You have great friends.
So.
I wish my friends only called me Turdy.
That would be the most mild thing that we've ever called Patrick.
Yeah, it's awful if someone calls out that name because I'm like, don't turn around. And I always turn around like, yes.
Like immediately.
It always gets the better of you. All right. So you're all over the internet at different names, but here's the beauty of what we're doing here. Just go to mofonepodcast.com and we will have all of her stuff linked. You don't even have to remember her special stuff. And then click follow, click subscribe, whatever it is, and follow her work. I promise you it'll brighten your day. And you're super active on social media. It's not like we're like chomping at the bit to see what you might post next week. It's like you're daily updating things, and it's always fun. It's always cool. It's always unique. So check all that stuff out. Before we head out of here, though, would you be willing to help us pick our categories for next week?
Oh, go on. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So that's it for the interview portion. Up next, we're going to draw some tokens. Are you looking to build your audience with a podcast? Then check out the folks at Cast Pro. Cast Pro is an experienced group of podcasters, developers, editors, and designers that want to remove any barriers that stand in the way of you creating your best content. No matter what your level of experience, they have the tools to come alongside you and elevate your message. With plans for the hobbyist to the professional, they've got you covered. Find out more at castpro.io. That's castpro.io. Cast Pro. Focus on your message. They'll take care of everything else. So the tokens portion every week is when we get to find out the categories that we're going to have the next week, and then we pick our topics based on those randomly drawn categories. So I've got the 3 tokens in my hand. Very real, very fashionable. I don't know why I said that.
It's as fashionable as a Band-Aid on your finger.
I'm gonna.
That was a nice Band-Aid.
You like that Band-Aid? I'm going to shuffle this up. I can't see what they are. I'm going to lay them down in front of me, face down. You give me a number between 1 and 3, and this will be for me.
2.
2.
Yep.
I got toys and games. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay, so this will be for Luke. Pick a number between 1 and 2.
Oh. Oh my God. 1.
All right, Luke, you got TV and film. That means, Patrick,
Awesome.
you have art and design once again. Congratulations. Trudi, you're a blast to talk to. I'm so glad that you took a time to chat with us. Go to mof1podcast.com right now to find show notes and links to all the stuff we talked about, to connect to Trudi's stuff. You can find an archive there with so many other incredibly talented people like Trudi, and listen to those interviews, and then go support them. Go buy their work. Just go and just support great artists. While you're there too, you can, what else can you do? You can find us on social media. Just go to all of the social media platforms and just search MF1 Podcast. We tried to do a different approach, Trudi. We just did MF1 Podcast on all the platforms.
Crazy.
We're just trying it out. We'll wait.
I don't know if it's working though. You might have it figured out.
You have 50,000 followers, so I think we should have taken maybe a leg from you, but you can just search that on all the different platforms. Find us on iTunes, where you can subscribe. These episodes come to you twice a week, every week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. We have our master category episodes on Tuesdays, and then our Sandbox interviews on Thursdays. If you subscribe, you don't have to worry about the schedule. It just shows up on your phone, and you can listen to it every single week, twice a week. So go ahead and do that. And then after you do that, Patrick, what do you do?
You're going to want to rate and review. I almost said rate with a W, like wait.
Wait.
Don't wait, rate.
You're going to want to wait and then review.
Sure. Leave us some stars, preferably 5, and then leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Good, bad, and different. We'll read it on Tuesday's episode, probably. And if you're in a different country, then we don't get to see those, unfortunately. So send us your review. I mean, go and leave it, obviously. Screenshot it. Send us our way. Tell us about it. We don't want to leave you out. So that's the least we could do.
That's literally the least we can do, is ask you to do something. So we have a community of people who day in and day out connect with each other. They encourage each other. They make fun of each other. It is a great community, and it is in our Slack channel. So just go to mof1podcast.com/Slack to join that community. There's over 200 artists, designers, doers, entrepreneurs, creative people in there conversing each and every day. Go in there, share your work. Don't be that loner person who sits in their cave all day and doesn't ever talk to anybody. At least hop onto Slack and make fun of Luke. I mean, that's what I do daily.
I can take it.
It's what fuels me. But go to mof1podcast.com/Slack to join the conversation there. You can support the show on Patreon as well. Go to patreon.com/mof1podcast, where you can get some bonus stuff and some heads up and some exclusive stuff. So hop on there and check that out. I think we're going to get out of this episode, though. I'm Andrew.
I'm Patrick.
I'm Luke.
I'm Trudi.
Peace out.
Bye.
Hold on to your butts.
See you, mates.
Love it. Perfect.
The softest clap.
Yeah, I got these meat slabs right here. That's a weird term.
Yeah, maybe don't call them meat slap. Maybe just stay away from
Don't
that
worry,
term in
Trudi,
general.
it's American. It's fine. Don't worry
Oh,
about it.
okay. Yeah.
Next
what they
time
say
you're
now.
talking to your sister, just say, throw meat slap in there, and then pretend like she's crazy for not knowing what it
You
is.
haven't heard of that? Oh my god. All right.